the Varsity's news editor.
We're here at the Hot Docs Theater in preparation for our coverage of their podcast festival. So right after this, we're going to be interviewing Daniel Dale, who's the Washington correspondent for the Toronto Star. Stay tuned.
All right, Daniel, thank you so much for joining us. So given that we are at a podcast festival, I'd just like to ask you, do you listen to podcasts? What's on your radar for podcasts?
It's so funny. Of all the people I know, I listen to the fewest podcasts. I almost never do. I think partly because I work from home in DC, so I have no commute, so I have no natural podcast listening time.
So, a lot of people do follow you on Twitter and see you fact check Donald Trump like that. You were blocked on Twitter by Trump,
yeah.
Right? So how does it feel to be blocked by a world leader?
I think it's hilarious. Some of my editors, I think, and people I know were kind of outraged by it. And I think, in principle, it is troubling that a powerful politician would attempt to deny information to a journalist in even the most minor way. But I think it's mostly a hilarious inconvenience. I think it's mostly revealing. It tells us something about this man, this president, that even, someone pointing out his inaccuracies on Twitter bothers him enough that he doesn't want to look at it.
Now, speaking about Twitter more broadly, do you think Twitter is really like a useful space for disseminating information, or is it just a toxic place of hysteria?
It's both. It's both. Twitter is awful in a whole number of ways. I think it can actually be bad for journalists' mental health because people on all sides are so agitated, maybe especially in this current American political climate. I have liberals yelling at me, I have Trump supporters yelling at me. It can wear you down if you spend too much time in your mentions.
What do you think about moving forward in Washington, D.C.? We're really only months into a Trump presidency. What do you think is to come in the next 3 years?
It perpetually gets crazier. There's some viral tweet, someone said, things have not gotten as stupid as they're going to get. And that was like months ago, maybe soon after the election. And I think we see that all the time. Every time we think we've reached a new low or a new outrageousness high, there's more. And so I think what's most interesting to me is, what happens if Trump continues to be legislatively frustrated, unable to achieve his agenda, and keeps sort of slowly but surely bleeding parts of his base. What does he do, and what do Republicans in Congress do? Until now they've been sticking by him. They're almost exclusively, with a couple of exceptions, they're afraid to go against him because they know that their own voters still like this president. What if, you have 10, 15, 20% of his voters turn against him? Do Republicans start speaking out and opposing him in certain ways?
Has there been one exceptional moment where you've thought, oh my goodness, how do I cover this? I can't believe I'm covering this.
Yeah, there've been a couple, mostly some of the smaller, stranger moments have provoked that feeling in me. I can think of one example where he gave a controversial speech to the Boy Scouts, the Boy Scout Jamboree, and then he was criticized for it, and then he claimed, people are criticizing me, but the head of the Boy Scouts leaders called me up and said this was the greatest speech the Boy Scouts had ever given to me. And I feel like I can tell a lot of times when he's lying, and when he says someone called me up and told me I was the greatest, it's usually not true.
Yeah.
And so I contacted the Boy Scouts and I was like, did this happen? And I didn't think they'd respond because the Boy Scouts don't want to fight the president, but they responded and they're like, no. And so having to write a story, I think it was one of my most viral tweets where I was like, I think I used caps, which I rarely do. I was just like, the president just lied about the Boy Scouts. And I was having to write a story about stuff like that, just how is this real life?
Of course. So kind of stepping away from the political a bit, walk us through a day in the life of Daniel Dale. What do you do?
I wake up, literally the first thing I do, even before I put on my glasses, I shut my alarm and I hold my phone up to my face, I can't see anything, and check Trump's Twitter. I wake up at 7 something, he's usually tweeted by 7, so it's has he already made me, am I already behind waking up at 7:15 in the morning, which is just ridiculous. So sometimes I have to scramble and start writing. Other times I read 100 plus front pages on the museum website to see what's going on around the US. Maybe there's some story in New Hampshire or in Arizona that's been overlooked by the national media that I can jump on. And then if not, I start to figure out what to do that day. Sometimes it's like bilateral stuff, like right now we have NAFTA talks going on, so I'm reading a lot about trade. Sometimes it's some analysis of Trump's latest whatever, controversy, policy move, and sometimes there's an event I have to cover, so it's a real mix.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Daniel. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. I think it's just about time for you to be on Candleland. But thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.